Hi, Aram. Hello, how are you?
Hello. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you so much, Aram. I'm so glad to have you, Aram. Finally, we made it.
Right? Finally.
So, how is
It deserves the wait.
it is? It is actually. I'm so glad to have you really for the Ikigai and Kaizen podcast. And you've been a supporter all through the way. And thanks for your patience until, we made it happen. So I'm glad to have you today, Aram, with me on the Ikigai International and Kaizen podcast. So
Thank you.
welcome, Aram. All right, so I will start first of all by introducing the podcast idea to whoever might be watching us or listening to the podcast for the first time. And Aram, I will let you introduce yourself to our audience your own way. So I will start first of all by saying why I have chosen you, Aram, to be part of this podcast, actually, because, there's an expression like you'll vibe attracts a tribe. I really believe in this. So, and as for the Ikigai and Kaizen, which means, so both of them, they're Japanese words, and they mean just being authentic, being oneself. And Ikigai means life purpose, and Kaizen means continuous improvement. So, and Aram, you really portray this, you really embody the term in itself. And today we're going to forget about the terminology, Ikigai and Kaizen, but we'll explore both of us, Aram's life, ambitions, passion, career path, personal life, Emily, and everyone who is really part of Aram's life. So, Aram, can you tell us more about yourself, Aram, so that everybody knows Aram more?
Well, yeah, I guess I'm gonna follow your flow, and I'm gonna talk about more. I'm gonna introduce myself as, Aram, the person, and not really Aram, the professional here. I'm a I have a wonderful daughter that I'm very proud to be a father of. That's how I always introduce myself now. I'm a father, first and foremost, to, you mentioned her name, my baby Emily, which, we chose her name, me and her mother, we chose her name as what she symbolized to us. So it comes from the Arabic word amal, which is hope. So I love introducing myself with that as first. Second of all, I am an English teacher and English trainer. I'm very, very passionate about that. And I've been doing it now for maybe 12 years, going on to 13 years.
MashaAllah.
And it's been solely teaching. A couple of years of training, not really explored that to the fullest. But that's really where my passion is. My passion is in teaching, it's in communicating, and it's helping people really expand what they're capable of and take advantage of the opportunities that might present to them. I would say that's pretty much who I am, without all the nitty-gritty details. When it boils down, that's who I am.
And I'm so glad, Aram, to know you, and I'm so glad to be part of your journey. And I will tell everybody who's watching us how, our paths came across together. And I've known you, Aram, through Blue Ocean. First, before knowing you at Toastmasters. So I've known you through your posts, on social media, whatever you're doing, sometimes through reviews from students, basically that was how I knew Aram before I started to talk to Aram and getting to know more about Aram as a person. And, I found in you that humane aspect, that kindness, and, that willingness to make other teachers and colleagues, well at ease, dealing with you, working with you, interacting with you. So that was the starting point. And then I've known you in Toastmasters, which is, level 2. That was the first level, knowing Aram as a professional. And with Toastmasters, I've known you, at all levels. as a father, as you said, to Emily, because Emily was part of our meetings for so many times. And she brought that lovely energy with her, and your lovely wife as well. She was, sometimes, appearing in some of the meetings. And honestly, Aram, in this life, I made it clear to myself is that I want to be associated with colleagues, friends, people, who share good intentions. And that way, that vibe you're talking about, kindness and making others really comfortable, first with themselves and then dealing with others. So that
I'm
is,
so glad that's what you got.
thank you, Adam. And actually, that is the purpose of this podcast, is to, make friends all through the words, first of all, and invite my friends that I already know to talk about themselves, to talk about their story. Maybe someone who might be watching this episode can be inspired. And that's always a starting point. It's not. It's just the beginning to a friendship, a connection. So welcome, Aram. That was a very it's not meant to be an intro, but welcome, Aram, to the KaiZen podcast.
Thank you so much.
Aram,
It's honestly a pleasure and an honor to be, like you said, how we met through so many platforms and outlets, but it's always about the person that you see behind the presentation or behind the speech. And
exactly.
you're really inspiring and a wonderful friend to have, honestly.
Oh, thank you, Aram. That's kind of you. Thank you so much. So, Aram, I will start. So, I don't want to, that kind of journalistic style of the podcast, Q&A. So, we'll make it like a self-discovery journey, this podcast. So, I will start by asking Aram a question. It's if now Aram will be expressing his feeling at this particular moment about Aram's current situation, whether personally speaking or academically speaking or professionally speaking. If you would maybe describe it in something relevant to you, whether, as I don't know, a character, person, color, anything, how would Aram would feel now about himself?
This is an aspect that I've been looking forward, actually, with your podcast, because I've watched so many of your beautiful guests and so many of your episodes. And what I loved about it is the kind of, like you said, the self-discovering journey as we go along in our conversation, but as well as all of the kind of self-reflection that's going to happen throughout the series. If I'm going to talk about now, and if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I would describe my current situation as the color white.
Mm-hmm.
So white kind of seems simple at first glance, but kind of thanks to Newton back then when he discovered that light is actually made up of all the colors combined together. And that's kind of where my life is. All of these different colors and aspects are coming together and uniforming into kind of this clear canvas at the moment, where I'm doing a lot of self-reflection on my own and a lot of self-discovery on my own, and kind of trying to figure out what my career trajectory is. Where am I going with this? After being a teacher for more than a decade, you kind of think, okay, what's the next step? What should I be doing now? What layer should I be adding to this career? Yeah. I tried training and I love that. Mm-hmm. The opportunities aren't abundant, though, when it comes to training, unfortunately. So it's kind of like a slow trajectory there. But what I'm really hoping to kind of, add to my white canvas at the time is maybe doing some research and authoring in the field of education. Yeah. Trying to take advantage of all the knowledge I've gathered, all of the classes I've went into, all of the students that I've met and the colleagues that I've met, and try to form that into something tangible, something that speaks for these 12, 13 years of teaching. I feel like that best describes the current era, but like I said, it's mostly a white canvas, and I'm trying to see, let's say, which color is going to pop out the most and turn into. That answers the question.
It does. And actually that description to the white color as being, a combination of all colors And also, in the spectrum of colors, it's like, let's say, as we said, it's the combination of all of them. But let's say, energetically speaking, artistically speaking, a white color is like a blank slate, like you said. You can write whatever you want on this. And by being pure. So everyone has, his or her own interpretation to the color white.
Mhm.
And I really like the metaphor that you used. And best of luck in finding, let's say, not necessarily another color. It does not have to be another color, but your way through in teacher training, in education, in authoring, like you said. And I'll ask you a question. It's like going towards your objective, maybe being a writer and writing an article. What are, let's say, the options that you explored now? It's like, have you tried maybe newsletter writing? If you're part of teacher associations, so are there any, let's say, areas you would like to explore, maybe in this sense?
There definitely are. I have to say that, from the beginning of this year, it's kind of been, I I set out this year to kind of make it a defining year in my career and in my journey. So what I did is at the beginning of this year, I actually kind of cut all of my ties with any associations. I canceled all of my subscriptions. And I wanted to kind of, let's say, look back at each option and say, okay, which one is right for me? Because some of them I was doing based on like, well, if you're a teacher, this is the organization you should be associated with. Or if you are a trainer, this is the organization you should be associated with, and so on and so forth. And they're great. I'm not saying that they're not. It's just saying that when I did join them, I didn't really have a clear purpose on why. I just joined them because they were the go-to subscription, let's say. So I cut off all of my TESOL subscriptions and all of my TESOL connections and affiliations. And I thought to myself, let's kind of discover what, kind of like open a blank Word file and just start writing just to see where I'm more comfortable with. So I didn't try to go into like, okay, I'm going to do articles for this journal. And then start trying to kind of formulate those articles. Or I didn't want to go into, let's say, a research article where I have to post findings and stuff like that. Because again, like I said, I'm really trying to find what works best for me. Which would I be most happy with doing for a long time? But I feel like the best way to start this is to kind of be going through either blogs, teacher blogs, or writing articles on, my opinions or my findings in this field and see how that develops. I'm really not sure where I'm going to go with it, but my end goal is to, kind of like you said, inspire others. So I'm going to try to write about probably the hard things before the good things, or the bad things before the good things. And just kind of to reach out to people where we're saying that, look, our profession is not all roses and dandelions. Sometimes, those roses come with thorns and you're going to be poked here and there, but it's okay because, it happens in life. I feel like that's where I want to go, as more of take an inspirational or motivational path to my writing, more than a kind of in-depth research of my writings.
Yes. So thank you for sharing, Aram. And, allow me to share my experience with this because, just like at a particular moment, I wanted to write something. So I was presenting, I was active in teacher associations, like you said, but I was part of a mentoring program, which was with the career path development within the TESOL International Association. I still remember that time when I was asked, what are your goals? What do you want to achieve? And I still remember at that time I was mentored by Emira Salema. So she told me, it's like, this program is coachy, mentee oriented. So choose whatever you want to achieve and we'll make it happen. So, we used to write, academic articles. We wrote our dissertations. So that is not what I wanted. So I asked her that, Emira, I just want to write an article and I don't know where to publish this. So I started reflecting, like you said, step by step. So I have chosen my own topic. I drafted the whole article and I made it, fine-tuned. And then I was given the choice where to publish this. It does not necessarily mean if I did a part of that association that I have to publish it with them. And honestly, it was very an insightful experience in the sense it was the beginning. I was hesitant. Where should I start from? So, but the thing was that just start. Just start writing. If you want to do something, just start doing it. It's not going to be perfect. So after this, it was published with TEFL Kuwait in the newsletter in a different association, which is not an affiliate with the TESOL International Association. And I say hi to Rana and Rana Khan and Alison Kushki. So they were at that time, my mentors, and they welcomed me in TEFL Kuwait at that time. So saying that, perceiving being part of an association can be different. And in the sense, you took that, decision to cancel all of those, subscriptions. It's good sometimes to take that step back to think about what do you want? Because since you know what do you want, you can achieve it easily. There was a moment, if you're familiar with Alice in Wonderland, and she asked, question by rabbit, where do you want to go? So she said, I don't know. So since you don't know where you're going, every path can lead you through. So in that particular sense, I started my self-discovery journey, and everyone is free, all of us to do it our own way. So and today, I'm interested to know more about this self-discovery journey, Aram. So now we'll go a little bit in the past, Aram, and I will ask you about the early beginnings, about Aram. What made you choose the teaching profession? Was it a choice, first of all? And if not, how did you come across this career path, Aram?
It was not actually. I'm what you would call an accidental teacher.
Okay.
And this kind of started where I was in my second year of college. I needed a job to support my education. And I started kind of poking around, asking people like if I can find a job here or there. And thankfully now we can talk about this. A friend of ours was establishing a kindergarten for children that were displaced by the war that happened in Syria. And they needed volunteers, which we were going to get paid, but like very, few amounts of money because it was mostly a volunteering job. And they asked me, it was like, if you're interested, you can start out and the pay is not going to be great, but hopefully in the future we can, make this happen, make this work. And I just kind of felt this urge or commitment to be there for those children and to kind of start exploring if this could be a future path of mine. And that's really how it started. I started off as a kindergarten teacher, teaching 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds how to write the letters in the alphabet and put words together and everything like that. And I don't know, there's just something about it that I fell in love with. This the love that you receive from your students and the admiration that you receive from your students, and just seeing them develop as, very young human beings, where they come in at the beginning of the year, they don't know anything. And they leave your classroom, writing letters or formulating words or spelling and so on and so forth. And I just got hooked. I kept doing that for the next couple of years. And I was always kind of met with this confusion that, because normally when it comes to young learners, you don't really see a lot of men in that profession or males in that profession. It's predominantly female. Mm-hmm. And I didn't mind, I didn't mind it at all, being surrounded by it. And it just kind of clicked then and there that I think I want to be a teacher. And then I stopped. Mm-hmm. Because the opportunity stopped to present itself. It kind of ended. And I went into translation to take advantage of my language skills. And that's where I spent a couple of years of my life, but eventually it was like, I want to be back in the classroom. This is not what I want. This is not what I like. And I traveled back to Damascus and applied to language centers there. And I've been doing that again ever since. And so it wasn't a choice at all. It was just the love for communication, the love for inspiring and influencing, and kind of the reciprocal feeling of gratitude that you receive from your students. Yeah, I was grateful for them for showing up every day and for doing their homeworks and for participating in class. And they were gratitude that I was showing up every day and keep pushing them and encouraging them. So I would say that's what got me into it, and that's what's kept me in it
You know,
all of these years.
I noticed the energy, Aram, while talking about teaching, and and I can see that passion for teaching, and I can see it, from your tone, from your voice, from your face, like the change in the energy whenever you talk about teaching. If I ask you now, what's the impact of teaching on Aram's life? How rewarding is it to you, Aram?
Oh wow. To sum it up, it's been an amazing journey because if I'm going to talk about how it affected me, it kind of it fed my curiosity to keep learning and keep developing. So, and you're a teacher yourself, and you know how it goes that you walk into the classroom today and you have a plan or you have a method of teaching, and then you can walk in the next day and it could completely backfire. So the same method or the same type of classroom would really never work twice. So you're always learning new techniques and new methods. And that really fed my love for learning and for, now we call it PD. At the time, I didn't know anything about PD, but it fed my love for that PD and the continuity of learning and discovering more methods and discovering more approaches. And then I kind of went into the literature of teaching, tried to explore it through books and see what other people have talked about it. And I went back all the way to Krashen and Scrivener, back in the 50s and the 60s and the 80s, where they were talking about teaching.
Yeah.
And then I started to compare it to, newer, let's say, pedagogies or updated pedagogies, where kind of there was this shift in perspective. And I just loved how deep teaching went. I was honestly surprised. I didn't know how deep teaching goes. And it kind of also fed my curiosity in the psychology realm, because that's something I love discovering. And it turns out if you kind of put psychology and teaching together and mix them up, and like dopamine reward systems and all of those, and how you can activate them in the classroom, it's been so fulfilling to me. And I love that until today, like I said, 13 years in, maybe. And I can still open an article and read something and reflect and say, wow, I've never thought of it like that. And that's really the impact that it has on me. It's fed my curiosity. It's fed my drive to keep learning. And it fulfills me in every way possible, really, both emotionally and professionally.
I'm going to ask you a question, Aram, and maybe you're not expecting this question at all. Is there a book or an article that has inspired Aram? And after reading this book or article, Aram has changed, the perspective of seeing teaching. You see it from a different perspective, let's say. So is there an article or a book or anything you read or came across, a webinar?
There's honestly been so many to kind of filter down to one. Some from amazing colleagues of ours in Dubai Legends, and some from older publications. But I would say the one book that really got me hooked on literature was Jim Scrivener. He was the beginning point, let's say, when it came to, first of all, it was the title, Learning Teaching.
Yes.
that really caught my eye, and it was recommended to me back in Blue Ocean by Mr. Safwan. He said, read this book and you'll pretty much never be the same again after it. And I looked at the book and I was like, learning, teaching. Well, that's interesting. And ever since then, that's really been the focal point of my career, is that I want to keep learning how to teach. And what he did so wonderfully in the book, that it wasn't really, in my opinion, of course, it wasn't this is how to do it, learn it. It was, hey, look, I don't have answers for you, but I have questions for you. And maybe by sitting by yourself and answering those questions, you'll figure out what the answer is. Okay. And I would say that method was very new to me when it came to reading literature, because everything before then was do this, do that, 1, 2, 3, bullet points, everything like that. And then I got to him and he was like, yeah, there is no answer. How to teach grammar? Well, we don't know. We have theories. Try it this way, try it that way. Look at this classroom, look at that classroom, and really think about it and find your own answer. So I would say that's really what inspired me, is that, it is a science. Teaching is a science to me, but it's not like the other sciences where, this is an equation that will work every time, or like in physics or in math or in chemistry and so on and so forth. It's a science that has no equations, to say the least, but it has a lot of maybes, and it's up to you to explore which ones work for you.
I really like that book, Aram, and I came across it with my CELTA training. Actually, I did, I had a series of books to read at that time while preparing to sit for my CELTA training at that time, and I was inspired by that book. And as you said, you mentioned something really interesting, which is the reflective aspect and asking questions. Basically, this is why I like coaching. And I was inspired to do my ICF, accreditation when it comes to certification when it comes to coaching, because I've discovered that some of the aspects used in CELTA, they use coaching actually, and we didn't know about it. It's like how to elicit, how to set the context, the ICQs and the CCQs. All of those, were meant to let the students reflect themselves on activity, instead of saying just give the instruction, do this, do not do this. This is good, this is bad. So instead of this, we just present, they say a plethora of choices, and we let them explore. And Scrivener's books, and especially that one, is really inspiring to all English teachers. And thank you for mentioning it. I was expecting this, since you were talking about this and you mentioned, so I said, this is a good question that I can ask. So thank you, Aram, for really sharing your experience with this. So would you like to say something else regarding teaching methodologies, Aram, or like, let's say you mentioned amazing aspects of teachers being facilitators. You mentioned psychology, which is really interesting because after all, we teach human beings. It's not like you just prepare your lesson. You get into the class and here is it, I'm going to teach this, and there are no, let's say, aspects to be reviewed. Whereas the best lesson is from the feedback you can get from your students, from whatever they contribute. Sometimes they can, shift some aspects in your lesson by stating something sometimes unexpected. They suggest an activity. Here, miss, there's a video that we can watch. It's an amazing video. Why don't we watch it? So it's like, still you plan your lesson, but you keep it open to students to contribute. So if I ask you a question now related to, Aram, you are adopting a student-centered approach, as far as I see. Is there any activity you conducted in class, or let's say a moment you recall from the classroom and you were positively surprised by, the learning outcomes from your students? It can be an anecdote, it can be something you can share with us.
Sure. Let me kind of make it. Honestly, I would say, what I would if I would reflect, when I do reflect about my classrooms, the first question I asked was it a comfortable environment for the students to be in? Because something we deal with here in, maybe in the Arab world is when we do have access to these ESL curriculums, they're normally based for learners that are living either in, let's say, the United States or in the UK and so on and so forth. So it's not really adopted to our culture, traditions, daily lifestyles, and so on and so forth. And like you said, I do try to keep it as much as I can centered on the students by making it, a comfortable environment to be in, because some topics might be taboo, topics might be unfamiliar, and we can't really always explore it. So it always comes down to when I'm kind of sitting down and preparing, because I'm a preparation freak. I love to sit down for hours and think of my lessons and how I'm going to conduct them. What questions am I going to ask? What questions am I not going to ask? And so on and so forth. And what I found the most kind of adding, or, when it comes to value to my classrooms, is I always look for a couple of videos related to the topic. And I send it to my students. I tell them, take a look at it before you come to class today. And then I leave this kind of at the end of the lesson, I'll leave this 10-minute margin for my lesson and just say, all right, let's talk about those videos. What did you like about them? What did you learn about them? What were you inspired about? Were you aware of this? Were you not? I really keep it as an open discussion for them to have with each other. And what I found the most is that when you really provide that environment for them to just kind of talk, that's really where you see the fruits of your efforts come out. It's not really in the activity or the worksheet or the exercise and so on and so forth, because that's, it's a little bit tended more to rote memorization than, authentic production. But it's when you give them room and you can, really pique their curiosity enough to engage in conversations about it and discussions about it, is where you see, like I said, the fruits of your work come in. So I love that method. I love giving them space to really, let themselves go and just talk without fearing about, maybe making mistakes or not knowing what the word is, because, their friend, they can just poke them and say, what was this word in English? And just continue the conversation from there. So I make sure to, let's say, create a really safe environment for them to be in, where you can say whatever you want. There's no giggles, there's no laughs, there's no nothing of that towards your mistakes. And just talk. Tell us about, let's see Yusra, let's see Aram, let's see Ahmad, not the student Yusra or the student Aram or the student Ahmad, and so on and so forth.
Exactly.
I would say that's really what it comes down to me.
Exactly, Aram. You reminded me with something that happened yesterday in my class. I prepared a lesson about, ethical dilemma. And, ahead of time, sometimes I flip the classroom activity. I send my students, as I said, either I send them the video, or now we're getting all the lessons, on Moodle. So what I do is that I always tell my students, so I reveal lessons, step by step. So the whole unit will be there, but you'll be discovering the content, as we progress in the unit. So that not to scare them, first of all, but, and give them enough time to complete activities, step by step. So, so whenever I reveal a video to you, so it's like you're free to watch it before class. So, so every time they just, when we come across, the corridor and you ask me, Miss, we saw that video and it's amazing one. So can we talk about this maybe in the class? So setting a safe environment is really good, because, it keeps them, well at ease, comfortable sharing their true authentic selves and their thoughts. And they can sometimes, most of the time, not sometimes, they discuss. And yesterday I had, a discussion. I still remember the students talking about, the dilemma of self-driving cars and that impact about, human beings, and how would that be possible, if that was really generalized and part of our everyday life. So, and the conversation escalated to the point is like, All of them, they are in the car. And would you sacrifice me? And no, I would rather like do this instead of that. So it was hilarious at a particular time, but I let them really do that. I let them go through that conversation, and it was amazing. And part of the lesson takeaways at the end, when I asked them about something maybe they can share at the end of the lesson. So it was the interactivity, not only at the technical level of the lesson, but the interactivity level. They knew more about each other. And I still remember like the facial expressions they had, and it was hilarious for me as a teacher watching this, and being witnessing this in the class. It was good.
And really, it's, we have to shout out to kind of the institutions that allow us to be so, to allow us to be creative and to allow us, or not allow us, but I would say trust us to do so.
Yeah.
Because they know if Aram's in the classroom, no matter what style he's going to adopt, no matter what he does in the classroom, they know that, academically, the students are going to reach the desired outcomes. It's just a matter of how it's done, that's completely up to him. And there's another thing you would like to maybe once try out. I normally do this with my more advanced students, lower levels, but I tell them that this is going to be our next lesson, and I want you to go online, especially now with ChatGPT being so useful, and find some trivia related to the topic. Find a video, find an exercise that you really like. What's, facts that are really interesting to you, and send them back to me so I can incorporate them to my preparation. And you can see the students every time I kind of pass a piece of information that they included in their prep. You can kind of see their face light up and have that look like, I did that, or I did that to the lesson.
Yeah.
And it's really wonderful. You see them, they get super involved and super immersed in the lesson. It's also really nice. So they're kind of like this teacher assistant, but low key. Nobody knows who prepared or who sent me or anything like that. It's all done privately.
Oh no, I do it publicly. You know what I did? You just there's a let's say an experience that I want to share, which was last year. So I had a student, volunteering for being part, of a student fair. So because I do believe in student-centered approaches. So at that time, so he asked me if whether he can be present and help out, with the preparations. But I told him, no, you're going to be there with my presentation. So I'm going to talk about the institution, but there will be one part that you're going to conduct as in class. So because I implement PBL a lot, project-based learning. So I'm part of it. He created a Kahoot, and he moderated the whole session, with everybody, including that student fair. There were people attending with their parents, and it was frustrating for him at first, but he dealt with it because he is, brilliant, and he has that good energy, of wanted to learn and wanted to take risks. So and also we did that in class as well. So instead of just asking for resources. So what I do, I ask for teacher assistants, and just like you said, they will be teaching part of the lesson, let's say 30-40% of the lesson. And the students will be contributing to this. They like this so much. Now I'm taking this to the next level. Sorry to interrupt you. I have IT students, I love and like teaching, basically IT students, business students, because they're so very creative. The activity will be about creating a video game online that they can, all of them, with coding and all the right stuff. I'm not really, I like technology, but I'm not really keen on creating a video game. I can do it with AI, but not from scratch, just like what they do it. So, and they were super excited. Miss, can we have a conference with us, for our students and playing online games like a hackathon or something? You can do it. You have my support. Then maybe creating a virtual escape room, because they like escape rooms so much. So I told them, choose what's best for you. I'm here. Just let me know if I can help with anything. So it's amazing, for me. I discover many things about myself and my students every time, and every session. And involving them is basically the best thing that can happen ever. So I'm sorry for interrupting you several times, Adam.
No, I love how to.
So for me, as for teaching, it's very rewarding in the sense when I see my students, being happy, sharing their insights, having a voice, saying exactly what they want to learn. It's like they can suggest ahead of time. So we have the curriculum, the syllabus is really well prepared and it's shared with them ahead of time. So I told them, have a look at the syllabus and let me know in that particular, let's say, unit, whatever, what shall we do? What can we add? And sometimes I prepare a lesson and I found myself, with extra activities, very resourceful and insightful. Adam, Adam, we talked about Adam as a teacher. Now I am really, eager to listen more about Adam, the learner. You talked about PD and you talked about Aram, this question is a little bit nuanced, and feel free to answer this, to your ease. So it's like Aram as a teacher, Aram as a learner. Um, do you think it's better? Um, the profile, let's say, the mindset of Aram as a learner is getting into sometimes in the persona of Aram as a teacher? Yes or no, or not a yes, not a no, and how?
Very interesting approach to the question. I would have to say yes. Even unconsciously, we have these biases that we incorporate into our teachings or we incorporate into our lessons. And I kind of come back to, I was somebody that had to learn how to speak Arabic. English was my mother tongue, and then I had to learn how to speak Arabic. And it was done through, the old-fashioned traditional teacher-centered way where, there's a board and there's a lesson and you have to repeat and go through this and that. And I remember how much I used to hate it. Kind of just sitting there doing rote memorization of letters and how to connect them and how to pronounce and how to say it and so on. So that is definitely an influence that I'm sure portrays into my teaching styles, but also as an adult now that is continuously learning, I feel that is also incorporated. I'm by nature, I'm just a very curious person. So if I see, it could be anything, literally anything, and I'll just go search it online and I'll look for pictures and I'll look for meanings and I'll look for background. It's just, part of my, or how my brain is wired to think about things. And I think that's what I try to do the most with my learners. I'm not necessarily saying like what I do is the best method to approach things. It's just a method that I really enjoy when it comes to learning. So I'm kind of what you call a jack of all trades, but a master of none. For two reasons. One, I don't believe there is mastery of anything. But two is that because of my curiosity, I've explored so many professions and so many realms. So like if I know one of my students is a doctor, the other is an engineer, the other is an ITer or whatever, I'll really kind of do my research at the beginning of the course and look into a little bit of what doctors struggle with and what ITers struggle with and what this profession and so on and so forth. And I'll bring those elements into the classroom. And you can see them kind of looking at me like, so Adam, how do you know about all of these things, or how do you know this terminology or that terminology? So it's just to show them that you can really learn anything if you put your mind to it. My knowledge is very little, but I was able to discover enough of it for you to be interested and see that I know something. So I feel like what I try most to portray, my trait that I kind of try to implant on my students is that sense of curiosity. That you meet somebody that's, let's say, a dermatologist. You're kind of like, oh wow, that's nice, and you might never go back to that. Well, why not? Why not open Google, open ChatGPT, open anything, any AI source, and learn a little bit more about dermatology? What do they study? What kind of subjects do they cover? What struggles do they have? What kind of professions can they go into? You meet an ITer, you do the same. So I feel like that curiosity is what I'm trying to really install into my students, or instill into my students, is that always be curious and always be willing to learn about other people and ask questions about other people. You know, small talk is normally like, oh, what do you do? I'm a doctor. Oh, that's nice. What kind of doctor? This kind of doctor. Oh, wow, wonderful. And you move on. You know, so why not follow up with like, tell me more about it. What are the struggles? What are the high points? What are the low points about this? And, you know, just keep learning, keep asking.
Some of the aspects that ChatGPT, raise your curiosity maybe about learning a new skill or learning a new, I don't know, um, information, basically. Did you learn anything new that was really inspiring? Maybe something you didn't or you wouldn't come across if, for instance, you didn't use ChatGPT for. Was there something you can share, Adam?
I would definitely say so. Like I've been using these generative AI models for a while now. And to say the least, like if I have to summarize it up, they're exactly what I've needed in my life. Because I used to spend hours on Google searching this and searching that, and depending on the search results that you get, if they're satisfying, if they're not. But now you can just ask GPT, like, I have a student that's a dermatologist. Tell me everything I need to know. Tell me the ups, the lows, the so on and so forth. And in seconds, you know, it's like magic. It presents itself to you in any fashion you form. And they are a learning model. So they kind of learn what you focus on, what you like to search the most. And it's always giving me aspects to kind of include in your teachings type of situation, which I'm great about. Something I love doing, and this is something I've been modeling for my students at the beginning of every class, is I will, using another device, I'll log into ChatGPT using my account and hit the audio, the mic, and just have a conversation with it and say, hey, ChatGPT, how are you today? How are you? I'm doing good. How are you? I say, hey, I'm curious about, me and my students were doing a little bit about conservation in the past lessons. So I told it like, so ask me some questions related to conservation to kind of pique my curiosity. And ask me a question of how many types of conservation are you aware about? And I said, oh, that's a good question. Well, I know there's wildlife conservation. I know there's forestation and that kind of conservation, land, maybe soil, maybe water. And it was like, well, that's amazing. And I was like, okay, what other ones are there since you asked? And it gave me a list of maybe 15 types of conservations that are going around in the world. One of them were floodplains and so on. And I was blown away of things you can really never think about. And they're just presented to you in moments. That's really what I love about it right now.
Talking about ChatGPT is really insightful, and the way you mentioned it is like we use it in a good sense, and it can be maybe another topic around for us, for another chat and for another talk. Sharing, maybe a webinar, why not? You share your teaching practice with ChatGPT and AI if you're interested in. You're so very welcome. So Aram, we reached almost the end of today's episode, and following this, I allow myself to say this: we have a Toastmasters meeting, so we should be on time. So, the question, Aram, is like, if you're looking back, maybe Aram, let's say, to the best life that you can live, the best version of Aram that can be possible. If ever you could describe this in one word, maybe Aram in the future, what would it be?
In one word, huh?
As you like. Go ahead. One sentence. Okay.
Well, in the shortest way possible, I would say On a personal note,
As
I
well.
would love to be, continuing on the fatherhood path and the husband path that I'm on, and see my baby girl grow up and become her own,
I
wonderful
wanted to
human or
see
person.
Emily today, if she's awake.
She's not, unfortunately. She didn't contribute today to our meeting. She went to sleep right before. Professionally is either have this, a teaching center maybe where I can get more people to kind of adopt the mindset of focusing on the students and being inclusive and doing all of that. And just let teachers do what they want to do without predetermined curriculums or anything like that. And just kind of, leave a mark, as they say. Maybe influence people, inspire people, and leave a mark.
You already do. You already inspire people. And thank you so much, Aram, for being, who you are and for sharing your story, for sharing, bits of your life. You did not talk about many things, but you're always welcome to the Ikigai and Kaizen family. And
Thank
would
you.
you like to say something, Aram, before we wrap up the episode?
Uh, Nothing really. I just really want to extend my gratitude and thanks to you. You've been such an inspiration to me, seeing how many things you're juggling, how many things you're doing, and excelling at. Like it's not just sometimes doing, it's also excelling at those. And I'm really thankful for you for choosing me to be one of your guests. I've seen the names that came before me, and those are very, very big names to follow. So I'm really grateful that you thought I was a good fit for your podcast and YouTube
You
channel.
are. You
And
are. Everybody is.
I love learning from you.
No, I love learning from you, and thank you, Adam. Actually, basically, if I may say, allow me to say this, it was not a choice. It was something that happened naturally, because the Ikigai podcast brings that vibe and brings that energy, and watching you being yourself, watching you really sharing your life and story authentically, you inspire many people. And thank you,
I'm
Adam. Thank
grateful.
you for your time. Thanks for
I'm
sharing.
grateful.
Unfortunately, I couldn't see Emily today, but maybe in Toastmasters she will away. So maybe she will she will be there.
Hopefully.
So, but please do convey my greetings to Muna. I know Muna from social media, and
Yes.
please, may Allah protect you and your family, lovely family. Thank you, Aram, so
Thank
much.
you so
And
much.
I hope we can meet all of us really for real in person in one of the
I
conferences
would love that.
live. You're welcome to Tunisia anytime. And
I would love that.
thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Bye
Aram.
bye.
So, bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.